medieval period is considered the events that happened after the fall of Rome to the start of the Renaissance. People had begun to look back on all the culture of Greece and Rome. The power at the time went to the Catholic Church, since there was an opening to rise in strength. They made everyone learn that God exists, and so does heaven and hell. They were all convinced that the only way to get to heaven was through the church. Eventually, the Roman Catholic Church had gained wealth very quickly. Everyone during the medieval period was classified in a rank, also known as the feudal system. The kings needed money, so he taxed the lord, who later on would need serfs to attend their land. The feudal system provided everyone with a food source, since the serfs had cultivated the land so well. They grew many vegetables and wheat. I am the king, and I need help to control all of the land. I am the lord. I own all the land the serfs have to work in.
Serf, I am not happy. I don't get paid, and I work hard in the field.
Pope Urban was the first to bring up the idea of a crusade within the Christian army invading Jerusalem. They were first used to get the Muslims to leave the Holy Land. People joined the army to fight because those who fought would be guaranteed a spot in heaven. Pope Urban's decision would later on bring other crusades in the future. The warriors in these fights were knights, and they were giving up their life just to fight in battles for the king. It takes a lot of training to become a knight. So you would go through stages like a page and a squire. The medieval period was not ruled by an emperor, but instead by one king in different sections. Monasteries also had begun to appear, so that people were able to show how much they cared about their religion. One of the world's most tragic events was when the Black Death had arrived.
First infected China in the early 1330s. Trading was a big deal at this time, so the Black Death was able to spread very quickly. It arrived in Europe in October of 1347, and it was not a very pleasant surprise. 12 Genoese ships had come back from a long voyage through the Black Sea. When they arrived, the plague started its destruction. The sailors aboard the ship were mostly dead, but the rest were very, very sick. The worst part about the whole plague were the large black pus-filled boils on all over your body. This is where the plague got its name from. No one understood why this disaster was happening. To them, they thought it was some payback for their cruelty and sin.
Don't look at me, I have black pus-filled boils all over me from the bubonic plague. They believed it was all the Jews' fault, so they began to kill them for no reason. This was known as anti-Semitism. Slowly, it had wiped out around 1/3 of the entire human population. This affected many other things like jobs, since people were not capable of working with the illness. The real reason the Black Death had taken so many lives was because infected fleas were riding on rats that must have sneaked into trading ships. They later learned from all the tragic events that they had happened to them and improved in every way. Architecture during the medieval period was very unique, since the French had created a design called Gothic. This style was very large, and it involved arches and stained glass windows. This design was mostly used for cathedrals and churches. Their art style at the time had begun to be more focused on what they wanted instead of what the church wanted. Around 1215, King John was not doing such a good job at ruling, and it was causing barons to rebel. The result of all this was the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was an agreement that King John had to obey. It prevented the king from making new taxes without the support of their lords.
Rules for the citizens also applied to the king. Another important event was the popularity of the Hanseatic League. This was located in the Baltic region, and it increased trade. It provided a huge boost in populations and in trade. It also saved those who worked hard in the field and gave them a better chance at a new lifestyle. The rise of cities and towns was started by the selling of surplus resources. This brought large industries to produce more useful products like wool from sheep. Cities had tried to begin raising an economic chance when trade had grown more widely.
Everyone during the medieval period, oh, oops.